Hello, I want to welcome you to the Poetry of Healing show during this month of love. And this show, although we're going to not begin with love, it's going to end with love. And it's a very important topic about intimate partner violence. And so we have my guest today. She's going to talk about her survivor strength and the next steps she took to heal, rebuild her life, and really to find love again. So I invite you to stay with us because domestic violence or intimate partner violence affects individuals across all genders and all relationship types and a particular age group. Okay. And it's a particular uh, public health issue for Black women. Okay, so as we always begin, I begin with a centering. And today I want to read a poem from my book, Regala Healing, or The Gift of Healing, that you guys have seen along the way. Yeah. And if you have the book, it's on page 21. And I'm going to ask you, if you don't have the book, or if you just want to listen to me read the words to you and just reflect on them, that is fine too. So let's just take a nice deep breath together in through the nose, very deep, and then out through the mouth. And then just gently lower your gaze or close your eyes and listen to these words I invite you to as we prepare for this time together. So the title of the poem is I Realize. I realize my heart is whole. I realize I'm not what I've been told. I realize love is the seat of my soul. I realize my story has to be told. I realize I make a difference. It is with this essence I continue my journey, loving myself into eternity. And so I just ask that you just take a nice deep breath again. And then as you exhale, just open your eyes, raise your head, and enter this session. So for those of you who have just joined us, this episode of the Poetry of Healing is all about surviving and being reborn after intimate partner violence. And so I'm going to give you a little background on intimate partner violence within the African American community. And so Black women experience the highest rates or higher rates of violence compared to white counterparts. And the rate is upwards of 30 to 50% higher than white non-Hispanics and Hispanics and Asian women. So when we think about age and the generational factors that affect or those who are affected by intimate partner violence, we find that Black women under 30 experience higher rates of abuse. And let's not forget men as well. Men in the United States, about 1 in 10 men, so it's a lower rate, but it's still important. 1 out of 10 men in the United States have experienced some type of physical violence or stalking. And so today I have a very, very special guest, and she is so brave, so courageous, and committed to sharing her story to inspire others. And it does end beautifully. So I just ask you to just stay with us. We are going to talk about things that may be disturbing to some of you who are viewing. And so I just want to give you that alert, but then I promise you, it's going to end in a very loving way. So without further waiting, I'm going to bring in our guest. Let me bring in our guest. Okay, so you guys know I'm the producer and director and doing everything, but it's to have you here um, to welcome Kendra. Kendra, welcome. And you are so beautiful. Oops, we can't hear you.
Can you
Okay, so Kendra, we're going to try it again. Welcome, Kendra.
thank you for welcoming me, Dr. Van. You look lovely as well.
Oh, thank you. So, Kendra, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, but I just want to say to the audience, and I know you hear me say this a lot, that my guests are very special to me, and they are. And I think I don't plan it that way, but when I have conversations or I'm meeting people or um, we're just engaged somehow professionally or socially, the stories come up, and they tend to be from people who are so special to me. And Kendra, uh, I've known for over a decade, even though there's most of that time we did not see each other. We just reunited last year through a professional association. But she reminded me that over a decade ago, as her mentor, I supported her in her educational goals. And so I just want to say to you that I had no idea what life would bring to her since we last met, but I'm just so happy that you are here. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, sharing whatever you feel is comfortable, either personally and professionally. And then I have a few questions to just get our conversation going.
All right, that sounds good to me.
Mhm.
Again, my name is Kendra. One of the favorite facts I love to share with people about me is that one, I'm from New Orleans, so a lot of my family have moved out the state. I've been in California longer than I lived in New Orleans, Louisiana, but still go home and visit and cooking very well.
Mhm.
Um, Another important thing that I like to tell people about myself is that I'm a survivor. And to use that word survivor, it took me a good amount of time to go from victim to survivor. It is a process. And if you are a person that fits in those categories and you feel like you haven't transitioned over yet, that's fine. Tr- Um, you will get there eventually through your own path. And today I'm going to talk about my path to my survivorship.
Wonderful. Thank you for laying that groundwork. The other question, or not question, but if you wouldn't mind saying what you do now, because you serve, you are a servant. Besides a survivor, you're also a servant. And so, would you please share that?
I am a public health nurse. I love my job. And what's interesting is that my mom's a social worker and my dad is a psychiatric nurse. So I kind of found something in the middle. I actually work in the apartment that my mom used to work in. So I'm blessed to work with um, staff members, social workers, nurses have worked with my mom.
Mhm.
And already I'm like family. But yeah, I love to work in public health because I have such a passion for supporting um, mostly families of color who have like extreme difficulty navigating the world, especially the medical system. When I was going through my health issues, as a Black woman that is also a nurse, I had extreme difficulty advocating for myself.
Mm.
So, that helped me understand a little bit more about what my patients and what my families go through.
Well, I want you to say, I just want to share that Kendra advocates not only for the population she serves, but she advocates for anyone who she comes in contact with who has a need and who's expressed an invitation for her to help. So, would you just share the population that you serve?
Um, I work with families that are in transition. They have an open case with Child Welfare Services, and they are in getting some type of treatment for a substance use disorder.
Okay.
And they also have a child age 0 to 5.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know about other cities, but in San Francisco, a lot of our treatment programs for substance use disorder, parents can have their children with them um, without the county having to step in and place that child with a resource family, also known as a foster parent. Um,
Mhm.
or, I've have a lot of families who have been through the child welfare system and have had children taken, and this is their first time parenting sober, and it's really an honor to be part of that process for them.
Mhm. Mhm. So you're really embracing, you have, and I'll use the analogy, you're holding these women and their children in your hands, and guiding them to a healthier lifestyle. So thank you, Kendra. So I'd like to transition to your story.
Mhm.
And I just want to say I'm handling it with much respect and sensitivity and delicacy. So if there's a question that I ask you just to get, move the story along, and you rather not go there, it's okay because we're just having a conversation, and whatever you share will inspire and empower those who hear your story. So I'm going to begin with um, what were some of the warning signs or red flags in your relationship that you now recognize as abusive? And you might give us a little context about how long you were married at the time when these warning signs began. Yeah.
So, one warning sign which I didn't recognize is love bombing. Towards the beginning of our relationship, like on his birthday, he came to my office when I was working in the clinic and bought me a beautiful, like, edible arrangement with a little Hello Kitty bucket, you know, constantly showering me with love and not and basically convincing me to get married exactly 1 week and 1 year after we started dating, because, that's also a warning sign as well for relationships. This person will try to, make them seem like they're the best person in the world, you're the only one for them, and they wanna get you married or trapped or pregnant quickly because, that follows their plan.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I would say over time, that um little bubble they put you in full of love, it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, to where that bubble becomes only a memory.
Mhm. Mhm. Was there any isolation during this time? That's typically one of the symptoms or signs. Mhm.
Yes, there's isolation as well, not wanting me to hang out with friends or going to see my family because I would be like cheating. That's what I'm probably going to do. I'm probably going to do something to harm him instead of me just seeing my family.
Mhm.
Because, I was really, another thing was I was embarrassed to tell my family, you know, that I realize I'm being emotionally and financially abused. Um, so it was just really hard to admit that to myself, let alone someone else.
Mhm. And can you give our viewers an example of, not many, but just maybe one? How does financial abuse and emotional abuse show up in a relationship? What does it look like?
And this relationship, because I'm a nurse and that person worked as a security guard. So I made a lot more money than they did. I remember one time I was on the like a three-way call with two of my best friends, and I mentioned something that what they take out of my check, one check for benefits, it's more than what he makes in a month. And he got extremely upset and defensive. And as part of that abuse, I paid for everything. I got guilted into, paying for rent, paying for his car insurance, paying all of our bills to where I would have to come to him to ask for money for gas
Mm,
or, tolls or things like that to where I would have, even though I have my own money, it's going to support him and his life. So he gets to do what he wants with his money. And then he would, say towards the end of our relationship when I would ask for money, if he gave it to me, he would say something like, "Oh, I own you now."
mm, okay. All right. Um, okay. So, can you share with us, or would you share with us, at what was the turning point that either gave you the courage to say you were going to leave despite the risks? And then what happened after that?
One thing that played into this, which is very interesting, is I was in therapy. Because my former partner was making me think and believe that I was the problem in the relationship, that I was paranoid, that, I was depressed and saying, everything was my fault. Um, and my therapist kept telling me, no, it's not you, it's not you. From what you tell me, it seems like it's, she approached it in a very delicate manner.
Mhm.
Um, sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I have cats, so you may be hearing meowing and barking. It's all good.
Um, he, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What
Uh,
was
it,
the question?
the question is, what gave you the courage to say that you were going to leave, even though you knew there were risks? Mhm.
Um, I found out that he was seeing another woman for almost 2 years, and at that time, we were married about not even 4.5 years. We were married. Um, so, you know, I actually met up with that person, um, at Starbucks. We agreed not to let him know that we know. And she's a very kind human being because I let her know this is not her fault. I just have questions. And when speaking to her, so much made sense. The lies he would tell me that I couldn't figure out, me thinking I'm paranoid, it wasn't me, it was him. And him, you know, having an affair on the side. After speaking to her, I had this like epiphany moment. And I remember she was sitting there like, "How are you so calm?" Like, she's like, "I'm livid. I couldn't sleep last night. I was so upset." And I said, "You have no idea what this man has put me through. It makes sense."
Mhm.
And I feel more at peace, more calm. And I was just done. So I went home, let him know that I knew. And I remember he said to me, "Well, I know that it's going to take you a long time to trust me again." And I said, "No, because we're done." I was like, "I can't do this right now." Um, at that point, my mental health was in such a state that doing, um, I wasn't doing well at work, and my supervisor took notice, and she, said, "Go take a vacation." And I'm like, "I can't afford a vacation because all my money is going to my husband." And, uh, you know, everything around me, like, I wasn't having fun. I wasn't doing things that I used to. I felt like I was falling apart, again. And once I had that epiphany moment, I was like, "Okay, I can do this." But I did not take it into account that when you leave a violent partner, that is the most dangerous time,
Mhm.
for a victim or survivor.
So,
Um,
Kendra, I'm going to just drop in here and
what?
just reset and let the viewers know who have just joined us in as Kendra is sharing her story, that this program is about intimate partner violence, yet it ends with love. Right now, Kendra has been sharing with us the story and the part where she got the courage to make the decision to leave. So now we're going to go forward with the story as it progresses towards how she actually left. Okay, Kendra. Mhm.
My former husband and I do want to make a comment that I say former husband because we got an annulment. So I don't say ex, or I don't like use that. It's former.
Mhm.
um, I um we were living in my mom's home. And I told my mom it's up to her if she wants him to stay there because it's her home. I can't make that decision for her. She allowed to let him sleep on the couch until he can find somewhere else to go. So I said, okay. Um, so all of this happened on a Wednesday. By Friday, I already had an apartment lined up for myself. Because I went out apartment shopping after work one day, found a beautiful place. So I was gonna be able to move in a couple weeks. Because who knows how long he's gonna be there, and if she's gonna let him stay, he can stay, but I'm leaving. Um, exactly 1 week later, um, he called me on the phone, and he was like upset, saying that I never loved him, I never cared about him. And I was like, "Oh goodness, he might be drunk. He's like he's gonna like mess with my mom. My mom's gonna call me and say, 'Can you come home and tell him to calm down?'" So I went straight home, um, and I realized he was still in his car in the driveway. I parked behind his car, which is what I usually do. He got out of his car and got into my car. Um, and we argued. He wanted me to take him back. Um, and I stood my ground because that epiphany really hit me hard. I stood my ground and I said, "No, I can't. If you want to talk about this maybe in 6 months, but not right now. I can't do it right now. He ended up getting out my car, go to his car to grab his backpack. And that's when he pulled out his gun and kept trying to put it in his mouth because I wouldn't take him back. And so this was another manipulation tactic um, that he, manufacturer tried to get me to stay. Because I would say about 6 months before this, I asked him if he wanted to leave because it didn't seem like he loved me anymore.
Mhm.
And at that time, he said, "No, no, I love you." And he was sweet and kind for a little bit and then reverted back to his old behaviors.
Mhm.
Um, because of the gun, I was scared. So I jumped out of my car. I think I only had my phone in my hand. I left my keys, my purse, everything to go knock on the front door. I called 911 on the way, let them know that, you know, my husband is threatening to harm himself. And he has a gun, and I'm scared. And I gave them my address. When I got inside the house, I tried to tell my mom, "Don't let him in, don't let him in," but he ended up pushing past my mom, and he still had the gun on him and was doing it again, that he was gonna kill himself. And I was hurt and crying and, like, terrified at that point because I figures, like, if I don't take him back, is he really gonna harm himself? And is that a guilt I wanna carry? And then again, that epiphany showed up, and it's like, this is manipulation. He has no intent of doing this. If he wanted to do this, he would have done it already. Um, at a certain point, my mom realized there was cops outside, but we didn't have a front light at that time, so I guess they were looking for the address. My mom went outside. She didn't come back in. They would not allow her to come back in. Because I had called 911 and he had me hang up, they kept calling me back over and over to where he said, "Pick up the phone, tell them to go away." So I tried to tell her, everything's okay. I don't want you guys outside anymore. But I was crying. But
Mhm.
the good thing is she was asking me questions and I was trying to answer them in a way that didn't alert him. Like she was asking, is the gun is still there? How many guns are there? And that was amazing what that 911 operator did. Um, I don't know if at that point he heard what I was saying to the operator, um, or he just snapped. But he pulled the gun out again and this time was pointing at me. I was trying to talk him down and back out of the house because I was trying to figure out a way to get out of the house. And I thought of one, and that's what I was trying to do. Also, in my hand, the 911 call is still rolling.
Mhm.
He fired twice at me. The first bullet hit me in the upper chest. I'm sorry, mid chest. Yeah, it's about mid chest. Um, and the second bullet missed my head and hit the kitchen cabinet. And I know that was meant for my head due to the height of the bullet. Um, I ran out the house to the police officers there. I I didn't realize I was even hit until I was laying down. They had me lay down on asphalt. They were asking me questions about the gun, what type of gun, how many more guns, and I was in such shock. I was just like, "I don't know, I don't know, I don't know." You know, I was scared and horrified.
Mhm.
So I ended up being life flighted to John Muir, um, in Walnut Creek, and I can say that was my first helicopter ride.
Mhm.
I can laugh and smile about that now because of therapy.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah, that was my first helicopter ride. Um, and I woke up in the ICU the next day, and there was a nurse rubbing my arm and saying, "It's okay. You're fine. You're safe. He's in jail." And I'm like, "What?" I wouldn't expect him to be in jail. I was like, maybe she's confused because I could see him trying to have a shootout with the police or actually put the gun in his mouth.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but again, it's it was all talk
Mhm. Mhm.
of what he would do. Um, since that point, the only time um, I was able to see him again was in court.
Mhm.
Actually, no, I did go to the jail once, and that's because I needed to make peace and that I still needed to mourn my relationship,
Mhm.
which is important. It's okay to miss, an abusive partner because, you've done nothing wrong. So you have nothing but wonderful memories that you're holding on to.
Mhm.
But in his space, um, I just wanted some clarity.
Mhm.
Um, and also what's interesting is the detective came the next day in the ICU to interview me because apparently he told the police I shot myself.
Mhm.
Um, and you know, obviously they didn't believe him, but they still needed my statement anyway.
Mhm. Mhm.
Then I believe his next excuse was he was too drunk and he didn't remember. However, when I visited him, he mentioned little things as we were arguing back and forth. And I'm like, how do you remember those little things when you don't remember shooting me?
Mhm.
That that did not vibe for me.
Mhm.
And I think that was also the epiphany that I'm done with this relationship. I want to find someone who loves me for me. I
Mhm.
deserve that.
So, at what point were you able to exhale? At what point, or what provides you the greatest support to rebuild your life after this trauma, after leaving the relationship? Um,
I would say learning how to be selfish.
mm,
So that year in the end of September, I turned 30. I was like, I'm going to go to Walt Disney World. I am going to have a really great birthday. I I'm really good at planning things for other people, but I don't do it for myself. I
mhm,
was like, I deserve this. I deserve a chance to be spoiled and guilty. I did so many amazing things like swimming with dolphins, um, a private safari run, and really great seats to their little Lion King Broadway thing. I got myself a adorable like little cake. Um, because it was just me and my mom, so we didn't need a big cake, but it got served to us at one of the restaurants we went to.
mhm,
And then as I continued on, I realized I do need help. And I leaned heavily on my friends and
Mhm,
my family that were really there and willing to support me.
mhm,
I wanted to do this all independently, but I was like, I can't.
mhm.
I need my family. I need my friends. I need that support and that love.
Relationships.
Yeah.
You relied on, or you embraced relationships, and you had fun. You made sure you had fun. And so these are just important, uh, just activities, you wouldn't think of. You've gone through a trauma and you thought about having fun. You thought about nurturing relationships. You didn't go into a shell and, never was so fearful, never wanted to come out. And so this is really important for um, those viewers who are listening. Um, if you have gone through this experience or going through this experience, or you know someone going through this experience, because remember, it affects 30 to 50% of African American women and greater than any other ethnic or racial group. Black women have the experience at that higher rate. So I have put that scrolling across the screen information about how to contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline, either phone numbers or going to their website. So I want to devote the rest of the time, Kendra, to you finding love, because this is what it's all about. We have ebbs and flow in our life, and finding love for you when love didn't serve you well, or what appeared to be love didn't serve you well earlier in your life. Now it's different. So I'm going to ask you, how did you navigate your fear and hesitation of reopening your heart to someone new after this experience?
I would say that was a little bit more difficult than the hospital stays
Mhm,
because you are with a person who now has your best intentions in mind. I'm
mhm,
so used to another person making all the decisions for me, and my new partner is like, no, I want your opinion.
mhm,
What do you want to do? What do you want to eat? And figuring out like how to have a normal relationship after DV. And it just took a lot of time and effort. And I'm blessed that I have someone who was able to work through a lot of those things with me,
mhm,
instead of um, having to, you know, take him to therapy with me or give him books or anything. And he was just very patient and also understanding a lot more about my anxiety, my depression, and sometimes I'm anxious just because I'm anxious.
mhm,
Um, One of the really great things about this relationship, I love telling this story. He loves Batman. I mean, that's his thing, Batman. So when the new Batman movie came out, um, of course, we went to like a midnight showing. I dressed up a little bit like Catwoman.
I can
um,
see you.
so, I mean, it was really great. But then
Mhm,
towards the end of the movie, there's this scene where well, I already got triggered a little bit before that because um, how these characters were like thinking of like a conspiracy and trying to arm themselves and being a militia. That reminded me of my ex and his mindset.
mhm,
Then a character got shot, and they got shot near where I did, and I had a full-on anxiety attack
mhm. In
um
the theater?
in the theater.
Mhm,
So I got went to the bathroom, my boyfriend asked me if I was okay, and I told him no. Um, and when the credits were done, he asked me what happened, and I explained. And so he held my hand and said, "We're gonna stay here until you feel like you're safe, that you're comfortable, that you are okay. You can hold my hand, you can squeeze my hand, you're not gonna hurt me." And I was like, that this is the love I deserve.
Well, I haven't met him yet. I can't wait to meet him, but I've experienced that love he has for you because um, when I asked you to come and tell the story on the show, he was so supportive of you. And so I would like you, before I ask you the other question about the love, I would like you to share with the viewers the benefit of telling this story because there may be someone out there saying, how could Dr. Van ask her to relive this? But would you please share the benefit of retelling traumatic stories and the fact that you still have a reminder, that you always have a reminder in your body of this traumatic event?
Yes, I do have the bullet is still in me. It's lodged into my left side, but it is a considered a cosmetic procedure uh, to get it removed, unless it starts causing me actual medical issues.
Mhm,
I have shards throughout my body because I've had so many hospitalizations and abdominal surgeries and, JP drains. I now have chronic pain in my abdomen.
mhm.
And I tell this story not to like trauma dump on someone, but to raise awareness about IPV. Not because you never know who you're, telling the story to.
Let me just share. IPV is intimate partner violence. So it's referred, that's the acronym for it. Go ahead, Kendra.
No, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like I said, you never know who you're talking to. I've gone to the ED and they asked me those questions like, do you feel safe at home? I'm just one time I went, I was in a lot of pain, but I was feeling a certain way. Um, when the nurse was reading off the list of questions, one of them was, "Have you ever not felt safe at home?" I said, "Yes." And the nurse was just like, "Okay, like when and why?" I was like, "Well, I left my husband and he shot me." And the nurse turned around and looked at me and was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, it's in my chart."
Mm-hmm.
And I telling that to that person is important because the way that they were asking me these questions, it seems like, why would I tell you that I'm in this situation when you don't even care to have any, passionate around asking me these
Mm-hmm.
questions.
Mm-hmm.
You don't make me feel safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to volunteer for the local DV chapter in the county I live because they also really helped me a lot um,
Mm-hmm.
when I was going through my situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I I mean, the story is trauma filled, things like that, but there is resilience.
Mm-hmm.
There's hope.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is a story about my recovery and my strength, that all those things are attainable to anyone with the right support. Um, Even if you don't have the right support, I want to help you find support, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's through the domestic violence hotline, depending on what county you live in. Um, it's a public health. IPV is a huge public health issue,
Mm-hmm.
and what needs to go along with that is it's not enough to take the history of this person that has CB. It's
Mhm,
to show them and let them know that you can heal from this.
mhm, mhm. So, what advice would you give to others who are healing from abuse and wondering what or if they'll ever be ready to love again?
I would say, um, because you have to realize that each situation is unique. Sometimes they may seem like the exact same story, but it's still unique to that person.
Mhm,
And I think we don't talk enough about or normalize enough of how to survive after a domestic violence situation. It's we can give you resources because it happened, but how do you keep living your life? Um, and again, I'm lucky to have a partner who is able to, really help support me through that journey. But other people don't have that. And I really want to work towards, having whether I have to write my own book on, how to live a normal life
yes.
after domestic violence, because something as simple as being intimate can be, elicit a PTSD response.
Mhm, mhm. So, can you or would you share what happened? Was it on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve? What happened?
So I've been with my current partner about 4 years, and uh 4 or 5 years. And on Christmas Eve, my partner proposed to me. Um, I was I was shocked, to say the least. I was really shocked. Um, and this person is also the only person I've ever been with to where I'm like, I actually want to have kids. I want to
Mhm,
build a family. I don't know if medically I can have kids that in a safe manner. Um, but I would like to try with this person.
mhm,
And they're like, well, and they've made it very clear to me that if I was to get pregnant and for some reason my life would be in danger due to, all the scar tissue and issues in my abdomen, he's like, I want you over the baby. He's like, we can always adopt, we can always get another baby. I can't get another you.
mhm, mm. Well, on that note, Kendra, I just want to just thank you for, first of all, coming, opening your heart and opening your life to share this very traumatic, horrific event. But you shared in a way that our viewers have learned and hopefully are motivated and inspired for themselves or someone they know. And I just wish you and your fiance, he's your fiance now, no longer boyfriend, just wish you all the blessings that there are to have as you go forward and further building your relationship and your wedding dress. Thank you. I feel so honored that you showed me your wedding dress. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely you, Kendra, and you look like an angel in it. So
Thank you.
you're very, very welcome. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the viewers that I didn't have an opportunity to ask you? So, any um, kind of final words to wrap up our time together?
I would say that when someone wants to share their story with you, whether it's because they need help or they just need to let it out or they just need to, you know, have, have it all out. I want you to just sit and listen not try to solve unless they ask for help, but just sit and listen. And if, they ask for your opinion, they ask for your opinion, but let them know you're there, you're present for them. You can help support them in whatever way is, possible for you and that person. Because, a lot of, again, none of my family or coworkers knew that I was in a, uh, abusive relationship. And then it wasn't until this trauma happened
Mhm,
that the word kind of got out.
mhm,
But, you know, I had so many great friends who just sat there and they listened,
mhm, mhm.
and that makes the world.
Thank you. Thank you. And I will see you soon. And I just appreciate you and honor your journey, and more so honor what's to come for you and your fiance. So I'll see you soon. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you. So, viewers, I just want to thank you for being here during this episode and hearing uh, uh, Kendra's story. And it was with the intent that her experience inspire you and help you or those that you know and love. And so, to kind of seal this experience we've had together and to contribute to that inspiration and infusing courage and insight. I have 8 affirmations that I like to share with you. I will say them, and if you can repeat them, and when you repeat them, if you can just even embrace them, treat them like they already exist, that'll be wonderful. So if you just take a nice deep breath, and you can lower your gaze or close your eyes, because by doing that, you kind of protect yourself from what's going on around you, and just can focus internally and absorb these words. So there are 8. And the first is, I have inner peace. So I say it and then you say it. And if you can say it out loud, it's even better because you get the energy from the words. If not, just say it mentally. Okay. I have inner peace. I am stress free. I am full of joy. I always find the positive in everything. I love and accept myself. I know I am beautiful inside and out. I have amazing strength within me. And to close this, I am enough. So I want to thank you again for joining. And I ask that you join me every first and third Sunday right here on blackdoctor.org. And until I see you again, I wish you love, light, and all the wonder and awe that the world has to give. Thank you.